26 flights, 4 presidents, one man who should have been behind bars decades ago.
Jeffrey Epstein, the American financier and child sex offender whose death launched a massive conspiracy theory.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
In a post on Truth Social, the president said, "We have just filed a powerhouse lawsuit against everyone involved in publishing the false, malicious, defamatory fake news article. Trump is suing for $10 billion.
Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just protected by the rich. He was protected by presidents. Clinton flew with him. Bush buried him. Obama ignored him. Trump pretended he never knew him, but the question isn't why they didn't stop him. It's what he knew that made them stay silent, because once you see what connects them all, you'll wish you hadn't. In the mid-1990s, a man with no company, no products, and no obvious clients was somehow worth hundreds of millions. His name was Jeffrey Epstein. And behind closed doors, he was building something darker than a business empire. He was building a network. His closest contacts weren't investors or executives. They were presidents. Bill Clinton boarded Epstein's private jet 26 times, often without his Secret Service detail. George W. Bush's Department of Justice let his case go cold. Barack Obama promoted the very man who cut Epstein his deal. And Donald Trump, who once called Epstein a terrific guy, later acted like they barely knew each other. In 2005, Florida police built a case. Dozens of underage victims, witness testimony, evidence seized from Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach. But then came U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. Instead of prosecuting Epstein federally, Acosta offered him a plea deal behind closed doors. Epstein would serve 13 months in a private wing of a county jail, with daily release to work from his office. Victims were never notified. The deal even gave immunity to any potential co-conspirators. When Acosta was later asked why, he reportedly said, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence. Epstein wasn't just rich, he was protected. And the protection didn't come from the shadows. It came from the top. From Clinton to Trump, 4 presidents had the power to expose him. Not one did. Why? Because exposing Epstein meant exposing something far bigger. Something still hiding in plain sight." In March 2005, a Florida mother walked into the Palm Beach Police Department with a disturbing story. Her 14-year-old daughter, she claimed, had been taken to the home of a wealthy man and paid for a massage that turned into something else. That man was Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't a celebrity, he wasn't a politician, but somehow he had ties to both. His mansion at 358 El Brio Way wasn't just large, it was wired. Police later found cameras hidden in clocks, vents, and walls. Every room seemed built to watch. As detectives followed the leads, more girls came forward. They described a similar pattern. A friend would invite them, a woman would greet them, and cash would be waiting on the way out. One by one, the stories lined up. Dozens of accounts, nearly identical. In most investigations, that's enough to bring charges. But here, the case took a strange turn. When local police referred it to the FBI, things slowed down. Evidence sat in boxes, calls went unanswered, and then a closed-door deal was made, far from the public eye. That deal came from U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. Instead of pressing federal charges, Acosta offered Epstein a non-prosecution agreement in 2008. The terms? No prison time beyond a short sentence in county jail, with daily work release. But the strangest part was buried in the fine print. The deal gave immunity to any potential co-conspirators. That phrase, vague, open-ended, and unprecedented, was never explained. The victims weren't told. The public never saw the evidence. And Epstein walked free after just 13 months. Years later, Acosta was asked why the case was buried. His answer? He was told to back off, that Epstein was connected to intelligence. That wasn't a denial. It was a warning. Because if Epstein was more than just a criminal, if he was part of a larger system, then the people protecting him weren't just lawyers. They were part of something far bigger, and what they were protecting might have been more dangerous than anyone expected. After Epstein's secret plea deal in 2008, something odd began to happen. People stopped talking. Federal prosecutors went quiet. Journalists dropped the story, and key evidence, files, names, surveillance footage, was never made public. But Epstein's life didn't return to normal. It accelerated. His private jet resumed flying. His island in the Caribbean, Little St. James, hosted more visitors than ever. And his guest list wasn't shrinking, it was growing. Photographs surfaced of Epstein with Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, and Prince Andrew. These weren't rumors. They were real images, taken at real events. Even stranger, Epstein made donations to prestigious institutions like Harvard and MIT. In one case, he funded a lab working on brain research and artificial intelligence. Why would an unlicensed financier fund neurological science? Why were elite universities accepting checks from a man under federal investigation? Then there's the curious case of his Manhattan townhouse, one of the largest private residences in New York City. But Epstein didn't buy it. It was gifted to him by billionaire Les Wexner, the founder of Victoria's Secret. No mortgage, no public reason, just handed over. And inside that house, hidden cameras, one-way mirrors, and framed photos of famous guests that never made the news. Still, no president moved against him. Not Bush, who was in office during the original investigation. Not Obama, whose DOJ let the non-prosecution agreement stand. And not Trump, who once said of Epstein, "He likes beautiful women," many of them on the younger side, a quote that would later vanish from certain websites. Then in 2019, Epstein was arrested again. This time, the charges were federal. The world watched, waiting for the names, the evidence, the reckoning. Instead, weeks later, Epstein was found dead in a Manhattan jail cell. The cameras on his cell door malfunctioned. The guards reportedly fell asleep, and the autopsy report raised more questions than answers. Officials said it was suicide, but multiple forensic experts disagreed, pointing to injuries more consistent with something else. And the tapes from that night? Accidentally deleted. For a man supposedly acting alone, Epstein sure had a lot of accidents protecting him. And the deeper you dig, the more it looks like he wasn't working alone at all. By the time of his second arrest in 2019, Jeffrey Epstein owned 5 properties across 3 countries. All of them were outfitted with surveillance systems, hidden cameras in bedrooms, clocks, and walls. He wasn't just hosting guests, he was recording them. Former employees testified that tapes existed, labeled with names, stored in safes. One housekeeper claimed he was ordered to stay silent unless he wanted to disappear. But who were the tapes for? Some believe Epstein collected them for protection, blackmail insurance against the elite. Others suspect he was collecting them for someone else. This is where the story gets stranger. Epstein's closest partner wasn't a business associate. It was Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of media tycoon Robert Maxwell, a man who died mysteriously after being accused of funneling information to intelligence services. British, Israeli, possibly American. His allegiances were never clear. In 2021, a declassified U.S. intelligence memo confirmed that Robert Maxwell had long-standing ties to multiple intelligence agencies. That connection raised a chilling question. Was Epstein part of the same web? The theory goes like this. Epstein wasn't a lone predator. He was a facilitator, a middleman between powerful individuals and an intelligence-linked operation that used secrets, not weapons, to control influence. Blackmail wasn't the side effect. It was the mission. That would explain why every U.S. president since Clinton stayed quiet. Not because they agreed with Epstein's actions, but because they were bound by what he knew and what he might have had on them. Court documents from 2008 mention powerful individuals whose names were redacted. That same year, Epstein's island was still hosting guests. Some of them flew in on jets without tail numbers. Some arrived by private boat. Locals spoke of helicopters landing at night, of lights in the jungle, of security patrols warning outsiders to stay away. Yet no U.S. agency investigated the island's infrastructure. No official ever released the full guest lists. When asked, authorities claimed the information was lost. What kind of system loses files like that? On purpose? If Epstein was part of a deeper operation, his death wasn't an ending. It was a silencing. And the real question isn't how he got away with it. It's who still is. 4 presidents, 4 different chances to stop one man. And not one of them did. Clinton flew with him. Bush ignored the evidence. Obama stayed silent. Trump denied even knowing him. Was it fear? Was it loyalty? Or were they all bound by something we were never meant to see? Because when powerful people gather behind closed doors, the truth rarely leaves with them. The tapes are gone. The files were sealed. The questions keep multiplying, but the answers vanish. If Epstein was part of an intelligence operation, then he wasn't protected because he was rich. He was protected because he was useful. Useful to whom? No one will say. But if that's true, then the system that made Epstein didn't die with him. It's still out there, watching, collecting, replacing one asset with the next. So here's the question. Was Epstein just the tip of something much deeper and much darker? Drop your theory in the comments. Let us know what you think really happened and who you think still holds the keys. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that dig where others won't, because some truths don't hide in the shadows. They hide in plain sight.